Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality back with you here today. Saw a lot of people talking about this particular issue, and I figured I'd throw in my 2 cents, and I'm just going to start it off right off the bat by saying I don't think the player that's being criticized did anything wrong, so we'll come at it from my perspective in just a sec. But this past Sunday, there was the women's NCAA title game, and I believe LSU beat Iowa in the title game. So the quick background on this is that there's a player on Iowa, I think her name is Christina Clark, and she, in a couple games before this, did John Cena's "You Can't See Me" hand gesture, which is nothing offensive to anybody that's ever seen it. It's literally her just waving her hand in front of her face to one of her opponents. And in the championship game, Angel Reese, who plays for LSU, did that back to Christina Clark. And people are criticizing her for doing that. And then at the end of the game too, like when it was out of reach for Iowa, not Christina Clark, Angel Reese pointed at her finger, like her ring finger, to be like, we're the champs, or we're about to be the champs, we're getting a ring. So, and again, I don't see a problem here. So there were a couple of commentaries that I saw on this that are kind of dumb, and I wanted to throw in my 2 cents and kind of combine these two things together. So the first thing is from Outkick from April 3rd. It says, ESPN's Jay Williams, not hiding his racial bias, claims those criticizing Angel Reese for taunting Caitlin-Clark are racist. First of all, you got to learn the definitions of the words that you're using, Jay Williams. Okay? Just because someone that is not white gets criticized for something, regardless if you agree with it or not, it's not racist. Okay, that's not what that word means. Stop using words you do not understand the definition of. It makes you look like an idiot. Okay? If somebody doesn't like the fact that Angel Reese was essentially mocking Caitlin Clark, I kept saying Christina, I'm sorry, Caitlin Clark, if she does that, then okay, fine. But that's not racist. Okay, anyway, let's see what Jay Williams said. And I used to like this guy. I liked him in college, and then he played for the Bulls, my hometown basketball team, until he got in a motorcycle accident and effectively ended his career because of that. And he was well liked in Chicago, but man, I've seen commentary from this dude, and I just want to do an epic face palm every time I hear something, because it's like the dude knows sports, but when it comes to stuff outside of sports, you just want to look at him and be like, you don't know what you're talking about at all, do you? So let's see what Jay Williams has to say about this. And of course, let's see what the article has to say about this. So, the article says, accusing people of being racist while blatantly showing a racial bias during your national radio show is an interesting choice, but that's become the go-to move at ESPN. Of course it has. ESPN is basically far leftist, race grievance sports, the network. Jay Williams stepped up to the plate for the worldwide leader and put on a world-class display of how to disregard reality and simply focus on the skin color of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. By the way, should say, because I didn't say this before, because in my opinion it doesn't actually matter, but Caitlin Clark is white, and Angel Reese, who is this girl right here, obviously is not, and this is actually Caitlin Clark, this girl. So during the final minute or so of LSU's national championship win over Iowa on Sunday, Reese spent her time taunting Clark. The LSU star sought out Clark every moment she could, pointing to her finger and doing the John Cena "You Can't See Me" hand motion. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. And I know you're probably not going to hear any audio on this, but I'm going to go ahead and just play the clip so you can just see what she was doing, just for the sake of the example. And there is audio, but whatever. There you go. That's all the John Cena "You Can't See Me" thing is, just that. So there you go. Just ESPN's thing has a tooth. Okay, fine. She did that. So it says Reese using the "You Can't See Me" taunt was a callback to Clark doing the same move early in the tournament. As I said earlier, it says here's Clark doing that move. She walks back to her team's bench against Louisville, which was, I think, like 2 or 3 games prior to the national championship game. So the two situations couldn't be more different, but Williams and other woke members of the media that quite literally only see race want you to think that they're the same. It says Clark threw up her hand for half a second while walking to the bench. Reese did the motion multiple times, 2 feet from Clark's face. So, okay. Trash talking is a part of sports, but there's a fine line between going overboard and looking classless and simply being caught in the moment. Okay, so if Clark threw up her hand for half a second walking to the bench, is that something, was she just someone mistook? Is that someone mistook what she was doing for the "You Can't See Me" thing, and now this girl's mocking her doing? I mean, I'm missing something here. Okay, maybe the article will clarify this, but I still don't really see the problem with what Angel Reese did. But see what it says here. It says Jay Williams doesn't think it's fair to criticize Angel Reese because of the color of her skin. Should say because of the color of her skin. Outkick, not because the color of her skin. Sounds weird. It says, in the eyes of many, Reese overstepped the line and looked obnoxious walking over to Clark to taunt her for an uncomfortable amount of time. I did see that Angel Reese was actually following Caitlin around the court to do that as well. And it's like, okay, you do it once or twice. Like, all right, fine. Okay, I get it. You're just mocking the other person. Okay, fine. Again, trash talk is a part of sports. But if you're going to do it constantly, like, that's kind of where it's like, all right, now you're kind of bordering into, like, it's a little bit much. You might want to chill that out. But anyway, let's keep going. It says, Williams doesn't agree with anyone criticizing Reese's antics. He thinks those who didn't like Reese's over-the-top trash talk are racist. He thinks those who didn't like... Okay. Sorry, I thought I misread that for a second. So we have a certain section of people that want to come out and call out people like Angel Reese, who's 20 years old. Williams said that doesn't matter. It says, now think about this. The narrative that's been following this team is that they're ghetto, they're thugs. I don't know about that. I do not follow women's college basketball. It says, and today I'm pissed off because instead of congratulating and celebrating LSU, we're talking about elements of race and double standards. Like, who is talking about that? Like, you brought it up. Doesn't seem like anybody really was talking about that. But okay. So when Caitlin Clark is doing all this, she has swag. She's a competitor, but when Angel Reese does it, okay, and that's a run-on sentence, Jay Williams. Hopefully that's not hopefully the quote was different, but whatever. That sentence just stops. Okay. Was it maybe a tad bit excessive? There should be no dash between tad bit. Said, could she have been called for a technical? Sure, if the refs wanted to call her for a T at the end of the game for trash talking because she followed Caitlin Clark around. Okay, there's so many grammatical errors in this sentence. I almost feel like I need to reach into the computer and change it, and people that know me know I am very much a grammar Nazi, so sorry about that to everybody out there listening to this, but I need to fix that somehow. But we applaud it in other directions, but now we want to apply race towards it, or we want to apply look at her. She's a classless piece of, and obviously there's an inference there. I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with him what he's saying, like, about the why are we questioning, like it says right here, people are questioning Angel Reese's character. Yeah, why? I mean, okay, so she did that. It's a heat of the moment thing. I would think that if there were no emotions attached to it, she probably wouldn't have done that, but still, I still not seeing a problem with what she did. Okay. Says, Williams cannot be this dumb. He has eyes and a brain, theoretically, and there's no way he can honestly look at Clark's taunting and Reese's taunting and compare the two if they're remotely the same thing. Says, the irony in all of this is Williams went on a 2+ minute rant about how people shouldn't be complaining about the situation, only to be complaining about the situation himself. Yep. He spent 2 minutes explaining why it's racist for anyone to call out Reese if they aren't also calling out Clark. But they do, and while they do seem like two different situations, I shouldn't even say seem, they are two different situations. I still don't have a problem with Angel Reese doing what she did. Okay, like, I'm not seeing the problem here. His argument, Williams, is solely focused on race, yet in the same breath is calling others racist. That's true. That's a very, very good point. This is another day that ends with the letter Y at ESPN. Solution for all this is to stop everyone to stop being so damn sensitive. This shouldn't even be a story, but it is because ESPN jumps on anything it believes to be racist. Of course it does, because ESPN is basically MSNBC with sports at this point. So, you know, my background before we go into the next article up here is, you know, I didn't play college sports. I played 1 year of freshman baseball at my high school, and that was it. But I played Little League baseball pretty much from the time I was 6 to, I want to say, 20. Then I took 3 years off, came back and played a year, took a year off, played another year, and then 7 years later played softball for about 6 more years. So the softball things were totally, there was never any trash talk, and generally the teams out there we're all out there for an hour, we're all out there just to have a good time. It was like beer league softball, so no one was like in each other's face for the most part. The baseball games, probably a little bit more intense, but again, it was about having fun. I don't recall any situation of trash talk to the point where, you know, somebody was like, hey, that person. But, you know, trash talk is a part of the game. I mean, you see it in every sport. It's probably not as prevalent in baseball just because generally you're not really close to each other all the time. I mean, yeah, the catcher and the batter, and if someone's on base, but besides that, everybody's fairly spread out. So there's not really a lot of opportunity. But, you know, in football, you have players that are next to each other all the time. Same with basketball, same with hockey. So, yeah, it probably just wasn't a function of my sport to hear that. But at the same time, if someone that was like the star player, as Caitlin Clark is on a team, did something and someone on my team mockingly did the same thing back when we were going to win, of course I wouldn't have a problem with it. Even if it was the other way around, if someone on, my team was the one getting mocked, I'd be like, well, you kind of deserve that. But I do not see the problem here with what she's doing. Even though they were two different situations, I personally do not see an issue with it. So that brings us to wonderful Keith Olbermann, who, if anybody knows anything about Keith Olbermann, first, so you know who he is, he used to work at ESPN. When I was growing up, him and Dan Patrick were the guys that made SportsCenter essentially like a household name. But Keith Olbermann is an extremely far left person and pretty much is like, I think he might actually be the angriest human being in the United States. I'm not going to say the world because I haven't seen that from the world, but he might be the angriest person in the United States. So this article from Breitbart, same situation, but Keith Olbermann is blasted for calling LSU's Angel Reese an effing idiot. So it says former ESPN, Fox Sports, MSNBC, and CNN host Keith Olbermann is used to getting yelled at. And by the way, he pretty much lost all these jobs because he's just a douche nozzle. Not because of him just moving around from place to place. He's not a nice human being. Says, but this time the highly traveled podcast host known for screaming into his camera from his apartment is taking friendly fire. Yep, that's pretty much who it is. Who wrote this article? Dylan Gwynn. Okay, good call there. Says on Sunday, LSU's Angel Reese. Yep, we made headlines about that. We know what it's about already. And there's where what I was talking about earlier in the video. She's pointing at her ring finger. Okay, fine. Again, don't care. I see no issue. So it says, though it may shock you to learn this, Olbermann tweeted about the incident without knowing all the facts. Of course he did. Specifically that the fact that Clark also had a history of taunting. Yep. Okay. So he says, as you can see the tweet there, I'm not going to repeat the language. So then there was backlash to his tweet, and he wrote, doesn't matter the gender, the sport, the background, you're seconds away from a championship, and you do something like this and overshadow all the good. Mindless classes, and what kind of coach does this team have? Yeah, again, I do not see the problem with what she did at all. And then apparently this must have been in between these two tweets when he must have been informed of what happened. He says, I apologize for being uninformed last night about the backstory on this. I don't follow hoops, college or pro, men or women. I had no idea about Clark. Both were wrong. No. No, I don't think it was just nothing. Do I think either one was wrong or right? I don't think either one of those things about either of their situations. It was just, they did a thing. The end. We're done. Let's move on now. So then Keith Olbermann, let's see here. Is this what he said? Or I'm not going to listen to that, but anyway, okay. So yeah, he pretty much got hit on. Shaq, who I like Shaq. Shaq is awesome. Says, shut your dumb ass up and leave Angel Reese alone. Just pile on Keith Olbermann, but he wasn't alone. Then other people saying calling a young, educated black woman an idiot for making her opponent is more than unfortunate. Who cares about any of that stuff? Okay? The sentence would be the same thing if it says calling a woman an idiot for mimicking her opponent is more than unfortunate. This is really all that needed to say. So there's a learning moment for you here if you choose to take it. Okay. The media, this is a little bit of baby talk. The media of which you belong can help end these stereotypes or push to perpetuate them. No one was talking. What stereotype was Keith Olbermann perpetuating? He literally said just, what an effing idiot. I mean, really, what? And then, yeah. I mean, let me scroll back. Yeah, what an effing idiot. And doesn't matter this. Like, what stereotype? Explain that to me. Okay. Mr. Ashley Bell, I'm presuming you're a mister. Like, do you know? Because there wasn't anything he was perpetuating anyway. Take this down, Keith. Okay. And slowly, I see. This clown is a sort of so-called friend that Malcolm and Martin agreed are in the way of real progress. I'll say, so they're ripping on him because he's a liberal. That's what that's referring to, which that's kind of true. Then Trayvon, I don't know who that is. So what is she, Keith? What do you say? What say you about the white girl? Okay, so that person's bringing race into it. That's not a race thing. Jesus H. Not a grown-ass man on Twitter calling a child an effing idiot. Do better. Okay, whatever. He's allowed to have his opinion. Don't care. Is this why you're not in sports anymore? Probably. And then this last person says, been a Keith fan all my life, but F you for this, or PHU for this. So did you say that about the white girl? Okay, I mean, yeah, those people who are saying, you're saying it about one person but not the other, yeah, I can understand them having an issue with what Keith Olbermann said. Just because, again, even though I don't really think they're the same situation, I understand it if it's close enough to where you're like, okay, say it about one but not the other, but there's no implication there. Okay, so just stop. People, you're looking You're trying to find an issue where none exists, and that's the problem here. Okay? Stop focusing on race. Nobody cares that she's, as that one tweet said, a young, black, educated woman. Nobody gives a shit. No one cares. Stop. This is nothing about race. Okay? This is just somebody saw an act that people looked at and said that was kind of classless. And then it seems like when they were notified that the player that she was doing it to did the same thing, then it was like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't see what the problem is here. It's a part of sports. This is the way things are. You don't like it, don't frickin' play. Okay? I have no issue with this. And as the title of the video says, Angel Reese did nothing wrong. I stand by that. Let me know what you think, though, below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me or not. Also, like, share, subscribe. Talk to you soon. Bye.